Oh, my monster. You were almost good. The Crimson Horror. We continue to move our way through Overdue Doctor Who as I revisit previous episodes, and we've arrived at The Crimson Horror, which is set in Victorian London, which means Jenny, Strax, and Vastra are back. It's funny, going back and doing this revisit at this particular point has served to remind me something that I think I'd forgotten. That for as much as I like Jenny, Strax, and Vastra as characters and as a trio, they're not in very many good stories. This one, it's actually very funny. To me, I don't know if anyone else has my sense of humor. In terms of, I have been able to pinpoint so precisely what went wrong with this episode. And I will do that, but stick around. So, when I say this episode doesn't work and falls apart, etc., I stand by that, except it's not really bad. And actually, falls apart is the wrong term. It just doesn't land the way it's supposed to, and a lot of the things it's trying for aren't working as well as they should be. Again, I have identified the one single change they could have made that would make, I'm pretty sure all this work better, if not just great. But let's look at what we've got here. We have an interesting starting premise in that we begin with only Jenny, Strax, and Vastra beginning to investigate this whole thing of the Crimson Horror. The Doctor isn't there initially. We get teased him because he's in the dead man's eye, and I do like that they established that that doesn't actually work and it's just weird chemical composite going on in the body that makes it work this time. Like, it's a toss-off line, it's probably unnecessary, but I kind of like that they don't validate this very debunked thing. So that works for me. So they're on the case, as it were, and Jenny gets to infiltrate. I like that we get more time with Jenny. I like that we get more time with her actually away from Vastra, so that she's not just part of a double act. She gets to feel a little bit more like her own character, and we get a little bit more of that feistiness, not just in contrast to Vastra's, very cool, calculated way of being, but just in vacuum, by herself, and she's a lot of fun. I actually think I like Jenny the best out of the three, if I'm being completely honest, though that might have a little bit to do with her armor combat outfit. And Strax really is fun. I think he has some of his better jokes in this one, because here's where a Strax joke fails as opposed to works. A Strax joke fails, I think, when it hinges on the idea that he's stupid or did something stupid. That's why, say, for instance, the memory worm joke in Snowman, while not painful, didn't really work that well because it just hinged on him being stupid because he kept handling the thing without the gauntlet. What I like about the humors here is that they hinge on how the way he approaches and thinks about things is different from basically everybody else in the room. So Jenny's getting ready to infiltrate this place, and he just gives this list of these weapons. And like, you should have all these things. I'm like, why? Just in general. Like, that's a solid Strax joke because it hinges on what makes him unique, which is Sontaran coming at things with a Sontaran mindset. Whereas whenever they hinge on the idea that he's just stupid, those jokes annoy me. And some of the better jokes with Strax are in here, so that's nice. That works for me as well. Of course, look, we've got Diana Rigg on hand, and while the full payoff involving her, between that character, Gillywater? I'm just going to call her Diana Rigg, because that's, even when I talked about her being in Game of Thrones, I usually just referred to her as Diana Rigg rather than Lady Olenna Tyrell, because it's Diana Rigg! Anyways, she's there, and her daughter, Ada, actually, the actress is her own daughter, so in real life, so that's cool. And there should be a stronger emotional payoff to that whole thing between the two of them, between her and her daughter. And you can see where it should work, but it doesn't quite land as well as it should. The daughter in general, my memory was that the performance wasn't great. It's actually quite good, but it's not quite paying off right. Not that they're paying off by having it do the wrong things. It's not a writing issue of they're paying things off in the wrong way. It's that for some reason when they get to the payoff of things like her finding out that what her mother has done to her turning on her mother's, losing the Mr. Sweet, the alien, which I'll come back to. Like, that works, but it should work better than it does. And again, there is one single reason, and I'm almost there. We'll get to it soon. Mr. Sweet, I do want to touch on. That was kind of a cool thing in and of itself, just this alien parasite that works the way it did. And also, it works well with that relationship because this woman has neglected her actual daughter for this parasite. And this parasite, which is attached here, it's on the upper chest, but it's effectively suckling at her. And she's ignoring her actual blood child for the sake of this parasite. Yeah, that works. That I sometimes go off about themes or where themes should be matching or they don't, or a good thematic. That's good theming. That makes the parasite representative of the rift between these two characters. That's good theming. But again, despite those themes being there, they don't pay off as well. And they don't pay off for one very simple mistake that the episode made. The doctor's brought into the story too early. The doctor should have been absent until, I'm going to say, the last 10 minutes. Possibly even closer to the tail end. Because we needed more time with Ada. And especially with Ada's relationship with this monster that she's keeping. We get like one little scene and then like he's escaped and we see how that affects her. But that doesn't land the way it should either because we didn't get to see like how much she clings to this. That should have been a much bigger... Basically all the time that was the doctor stumbling around trying to get to move again with Jenny... All of that, and honestly, as much as I like Jenny's fighting outfit, the initial action scenes before the unveiling of Mr. Sweet, all of that, chuck it in the bin. Give us more time with Ada and the doctor before we know that it's the doctor, and Ada and her mother. So that relationship and that connection, the connection that she makes with what to her is a monster, and the distance between her and her mother means that everything actually lands with the full force that it should be landing with on paper, but isn't. Because once the doctor is on the scene, he sucks the oxygen out of the room. And he just takes literal time and also energy away from these supporting characters who are played by very good actresses and who really could have had that hit really hard, but they aren't given enough time. No matter how good an actor you are, if the writing and the script and the editing does not give you the time needed to properly convey something or for the audience to bond with you as a character the way that you need to, then it won't work. And that is the core of this thing. Seriously, that one change, just delay the doctor getting there and use the time that you've gained to spend more time with Ada, spend more time with her mother, spend more time on appreciating, especially with Ada, what she's going through and what's going on, so that when she turns on her mother, beats her with a cane, and says to her face when her mother says, "Please forgive me," she says, "Never," which, first of all, as someone who cannot freaking stand the idiot's lantern, which espouses well, you have to forgive him, he's your dad. Thank you. Although it's mildly undercut by her mother going, "That's my girl," implying that her not forgiving her mother is somehow an evil thing, since an evil person is approving of what she did, but I'll take it! And her then crushing the parasite, all of that would hit the way it should, the way that these actresses deliver it, it would hit as hard as they are trying to get it if they just didn't feel the need to bring the doctor in as early as they freaking do. It's a bummer because it is really close. And the stuff that's there is still good. The performances for Diana Rigg and from Ada, they're still good. Diana Rigg especially brings a lot to. She didn't need that much more screen time because she has enough raw presence that it works for a villain. We really needed more time with Ada. And this could have been great. As it stands, it's just kind of, okay. Crimson Horror, you rewatched it lately? What'd you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something on down in the comments. Let's talk about it. And until next time, this council is adjourned. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can do all the usual stuff, like, subscribe, share this around, hit the bell if you want to get notifications every time there's a new video. There's a new one 4 times a week. Also, feel free to check out my other channel, Break Room of Geeks, and of course I have a Patreon, which there'll be a link for at the end of this video, and also down in the description. I am supported by the wonderful names you are now seeing scrolling in front of your face. They help me keep this thing going. You could as well, but no pressure. I won't tell you what to do because you're the council. I'm just running the meetings.